Actually, one of my partners actually was one of the engineers who built Windows 95.
Whoa,
Well, yes. So we've now built software that actually connects women-owned businesses to corporations that actually have contracts, giving women an opportunity to get in front of these big corporations and build significant generational wealth.
welcome to the Empowered Woman Podcast, the #1 show on visibility strategies for women entrepreneurs. If you want to get empowered to be seen, stand out on social media, stages, TV, and more to make an impact with your voice and business, you're in the right place. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Marta Spurk, and I'm your host, professional singer and visibility strategist. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode. Listen up, empowered woman. Your vaginal health shouldn't be taboo. We've partnered up with Meraki Co.'s Vaginal Probiotic so you can prioritize your urinary and vaginal health. And guess what? Get 15% off with code EWP15. EWP, like Empowered Woman Podcast, 15. Say goodbye to UTIs, yeast infections, and BV. For more info, visit shopwithmerakico.com. Hi, Valerie. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Marta. How are you?
I am great. Well, I'm super excited to chat with you and share all your amazingness with my audience and the great things you have accomplished in your business and in your career. So why don't you kick us off telling us more about who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Valerie Tyson, and I am the head of strategy and sports for Unrivaled Group. And we are a consultancy and data company helping to change the world for women.
That is amazing. I am so glad for the work that you're doing, being that I love empowering women in business as well. And I'd love to hear a little bit of the backstory. How did you get into doing this?
Well, the software part is new to me, and I have a great partner who's a terrific engineer. But I spent most of my career in sports and entertainment, which are clearly male-dominated fields. And I always thought it was kind of my purpose to try to outwork everyone in the room. My competition wasn't men, it was everyone. And
Hmm.
I had an amazing career. I started in Los Angeles working in arena football. I worked for Michael Jordan for a couple of years when he had purchased an NBA team. I had the honor of working with a lot of great brands and athletes at IMG in New York as the head of global digital. And then through the course of that, I met and married a Texan who always called Austin home, so it was hard to take him away. And so I opened Unrivaled Group here in Austin, Texas. And then over the course of the last 6 months, brought on some new partners to completely reinvent our company where we can help greater serve our clients in both business and sports.
That is so amazing. I love that. And why sports? How did you get
I
into
don't
that?
know. I've always loved sports. It was really interesting. My first job, I worked in radio, and I worked for a classical radio station in San Diego that had trade for San Diego Padre tickets. And knowing the classical station, they were very into classical music and opera. Everyone fought for the opera tickets. Well, they had a trade with the San Diego Padres, and I fought for the Padre tickets. And your first job, you don't make much money, so that was kind of my form of entertainment, living in an expensive city. And
Mhm.
I sat along the third baseline and I saw the Padres go to the World Series against the Yankees. And just,
Wow.
I loved every bit of it and the marketing around it and the brand and the fandom. Like, I think there's five things in the world that bring people together. And it's, birth, death, entertainment, sports, and food and cocktails.
Hmm.
And so, seeing that sports fandom and how people align, I just think there's so many great things about, people who play sports are parts of teams, I think are better leaders. And for me, just everything about that like fueled me in both business and wanted me to actually learn the business of sports, which has been an amazing, amazing career.
Yeah, that is so true. Me being from Brazil, obviously, soccer is a huge thing, but coming to the United States and seeing professional sporting events, it's a whole show. And it's just amazing how I almost feel like it's a wedding every time. Like the production and everything that goes in the behind the scenes, and then getting to sing the national anthem for a few of the events. I've gotten to sing some of the behind the scenes, and it's pretty magical. So I can understand why you love being involved with that. But the side of that too is that it's a very male dominated industry, and even being in radio too, I know that that's true too. How did you break in, and what were some of the challenges?
Well, my second full-time job was working for Howard Stern on the West Coast, his West Coast events, and his West Coast at a radio station in Los Angeles. And our AM sister station broadcast the LA Kings. And it was a station that was it was Latin music, and it just happened to have the radio contract for hockey. And a lot of the folks on that side of the station were not into sports, and I love sports. And so I started doing a lot of the LA Kings promotion for both radio stations. And one day they said, "Hey, Valerie, there is a 27-year-old millionaire whose grandfather tried to buy him an NFL team for his birthday.
Oh,
But he actually had an arena football team. He was purchased with his grandfather an arena football team. It was Casey Wasserman, who's now a global sports mogul. And they said he was looking for a VP of marketing. So I made this little PowerPoint of what the mascot should be. And the team, it was funny. It was like 26, I was 26 or 27 years old. And I had this little PowerPoint of everything I thought the team would do. And I interviewed with Casey, who I'm sure I didn't know what his trajectory was going to be, or I would have been very nervous. And he said, "Valerie, I love all the effort in this. We are not going to do any of this, but I'd like to offer you the job as our VP of marketing." And we
wow.
became one of the most successful, if not the most successful, arena football team in the league. Casey went on to build a multi-billion-dollar sports industry now, Wasserman, in the women's division, the Collective. And it set me on a journey to work for some of the best teams, leagues, and properties in sports.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, so you have so many stories, I bet.
There's a
Between
lot of
all
good ones.
the different people that you've met and the different experiences, have you written a book? Is that something in the works? Because you
No,
should.
but that's the second time I've heard this week. It's funny, I think about it in sports. There are people who are like love watching sports and are fans, and then there are the people who love to do the work of sports. And I never heard the analogy like a wedding, but it's spot on. I mean, you're there at 7 a.m., you do your normal job, there's a game at night, then if there's a game the next night, you have to entertain clients. Everyone's like, "Oh, it must be so fun." I said, I have the most fun job and I get the best tickets, but my husband sat alone for every single game I ever worked at. So it's very different working on that. And I think the people you meet along the way, those were just my clients. So, I have interns who asked me, "Valerie, you must have been so fun and really partied and got to hang out with Michael Jordan and go on private planes." I'm like, I didn't get in those rooms and on those planes because I was fun. It's because they trusted me. They knew
Mm,
they could trust me with whatever the work was I was doing for them. I would give them great advice. They knew I'd be prepared if they weren't. And
mhm,
that's really, and Me Too, that whole movement happened a lot out of, after my initial foray into sports. So now I feel this obligation to do even more to help women coming after me in sports and entertainment, or frankly, whatever women want to do, I'm on board to help them. But I think my attitude was just like I knew I had to come and be the most prepared person at the table.
mhm,
It was me against me and me trying to do the best. And it wasn't against. It was like, how do I be the best teammate? So if I walked into any meeting, if someone spoke about something, I was prepared. And I think that's good advice for anyone in any field. But I think that helped level the playing field for me in that industry because I did my homework. I remember my
mhm.
first day working for an NBA team. I sat at my desk. And I'm like, God, I wonder how many hours it's going to be before they realize I have no idea what I'm doing. And then you realize it's like any other job. It's a super cool, high profile industry, and it's competitive. So, your teammates, everyone you work with was like an athlete or worked in the front office of a team. So even though I wasn't a team, a player on the court, I was a player in the front office. And I think you just learn that your teammates all play up. Everyone wants to jump for the ball. Everyone wants to win a championship, both on and off the court. And you learn to do that and bring your A game in every meeting. I think that's how I was able to kind of advance through my career.
Oh gosh, this is so fun. It's just really cool to listen to you talk. And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies because people look at high profile things like this and are like, oh, it's the dream job. Not that it's not, fun, but there's work involved. And there are times when you feel like you don't know what you're doing and you're kind of like faking till you make it. And with you having achieved so much now, reaching out and helping women that are just starting out, that is amazing. So I think you already touched on this a little bit, but let's go a little bit more in depth in terms of what is your advice for women that are wanting to break into a male dominated industry, whether it be sports or something else?
Number one for me is always be most prepared person at the table. Anyone who comes to work for us at Unrivaled Group, whether they have the soft or hard skills to do the job, one, you have to be an awesome teammate, and two, you have to be willing to put in the work to be the most prepared person at the table. And anyone who comes here, and for however long they stay, I always promise that they will be the most prepared person at the next table they sit. So
Mhm.
I think always coming and bringing your A game. Um, Two, knowing your worth. I think it took me a long time to realize. I thought of being of service, being in marketing, which is an industry, and I guess a talent and a profession with of service, but also to know your worth, what you bring to the table. I wish I'd learned that a little earlier and been more vocal with, if I learned it earlier, I guess I would have been more vocal. And
Yeah,
three, and this is something I've learned in the last couple of years, and if everyone can learn it, women especially can learn it earlier, is build a personal board of directors early. People who will mirror you, who will cheer for you, who will tell you, be honest about when you're doing something great or when maybe you're beating yourself up. Build that personal board of directors early. And it's not someone that you just idolize or you want to mentor you. It's people that will have your back. When you're sick, they bring you medicine, they bring you soup, they cheer for you when you win. I think any team is really defined by, you watch sports, any team is defined, the most active bench who are cheering on their team are the
so
most
true.
successful teams. So why not do that personally? So those are kind of my
Yeah.
three pieces of advice there.
Yeah, the community or the it takes a village. It's so true in anything that you do, whether it be entrepreneurship or whatever. And I think sports creates a beautiful analogy for that, that you can't win a game on your own.
Right,
You need,
100%.
you need support. Even if it's a solo sport like tennis or whatever, you have coaches, you have people that are helping you and supporting you. So that is very true. Tell us more about what Unrivaled Group does and where did the name come from? Which obviously I know it's something to do with sports with Unrivaled, but how did that come up?
Let me take a quick second to talk to you if you're serious about your visibility. If you really want to take your visibility to the next level, your business to the next level when it comes to visibility without hiring a PR agency, then you need to check out my More Visibility Mastermind. This is a 6-month container, an intimate container with 15 students max, where we get down and dirty with your business, in your business, and I help you really expand your reach. We look into your content strategy, into your speaking strategy, your networking strategy, and as a group or also at a VIP level, we really create a visibility strategy for you. Because here's the thing, if you don't have a solid visibility strategy, you are not helping as many people as you could with your gifts and with your expertise. So go on ahead in the link in the show notes and submit an application and get notified when the doors open next.
It's interesting. So, we were a different name up through COVID, and during COVID, having your own agency and everything shut down during COVID, it was a really good time to evaluate what we wanted to be. And I thought, why wouldn't people want to be unrivaled? Obviously, there's a lot of business decisions that go into that, like is the URL available, all those types of things too.
Uh-huh.
But the sentiment about like we want our clients to be unrivaled, I want our team to be unrivaled and provide great work, and so, and then we added a talent division. So we represent brands, property, and talent. So athletes who want to win, properties who want to win, and brands that want to win. And that are strategic. We don't work with anyone who doesn't want to invest in strategy. So, like, what's your plan? How do we get there? We know how to do all the tactics well, but we really want people to be invested in strategy. And then in the last 6 months, I was able to partner with 3 other businesses working specifically in women in business, and we made the correlation that women in business and women in sports make sense. Women,
Mhm.
female athletes make great leaders. They know how to be great teammates. And then once women's sports opportunities, it's not if sports ends for athletes, it's when. And the opportunities sometimes are not always open to them. So how do we create a better space for both women, female athletes, and female entrepreneurs to excel? And I partnered with a great group of engineers and financial geniuses. Actually, one of my partners actually was one of the engineers who built Windows 95.
Whoa.
Well, yes. So we've now built software that actually connects women-owned businesses to corporations that actually have contracts, giving women an opportunity to get in front of these big corporations and build significant generational wealth. Right now, 1% of all the supply chain contracts go to women, which is not very much. And so we want to change the game, level the playing field, and democratize both business and sports for women.
Oh my goodness, that is so exciting. So it's an app that
So
women can go on. How
yeah,
does it
we
work?
have we have an app and a website, so you can go to unrivaledgroup.com or unrivaledwomen.com. And if you're a women-owned business, you can register your business into our ecosystem. And then we have our real business AI engine that sits between women-owned businesses and corporations, and it vets and scores women on performance. So if a large client needs, I joke, like toilet paper or steel, or they need a marketing agency, our engine vets and finds the best partnerships and helps connect women to more contract opportunities, building their wealth.
That is so incredible. Thank you so much for doing that. That is so helpful.
It's
Um,
neat. It's neat now too. It's interesting. There's a lot of we're in a historic time now where women, there are more financial incentives for corporations to hire women, and those incentives come with a regulation that 15 to 30% of all those contracts need to be women filled by women or minority-owned businesses, and that it has to be digitally proven due to all the fraud from COVID. All these incentives using these for corporations have to be digitally proven, and we have the only software today to do that.
wow, incredible. So I'll make sure and add that to the show notes so people can have the link and go access and register their company and start getting some contracts. That's super.
That would be great. We want the more women, the better. We all boats rise. So there's nothing a group of collectively like-minded women can't do. So
That is very true. I love that. Well, something that you did mention a little bit when you talked about, yeah, it was fun, but my husband ended up having to watch the games on his own. How has that been in terms of, your marriage, family, balancing that out with business? Because like you said, got to be prepared, got to do your homework, got to be on. How have you balanced that throughout the years?
I won't. To be honest, I don't know that I've always done a great job of it, and I think that's just being honest and the truth of it. Um, I don't have children, and it's not because of working in sports. I met my husband at 32, and it was kind of one of those things where we were on a different path. But finding a
Mhm.
partner that understands. So I think I couldn't ask for a better partner in life than I think I have for what we both do and what we like to do together. So I feel so lucky for that. But being very honest about that, he watched a lot of games alone, went on a lot of trips alone, ate dinner alone because sports and entertainment, that industry isn't 9 to 5. It's
Mm.
9 to 5, and then the other 9 to 5 we joke that is the like the games and the activations and the travel. So
Yeah.
finding someone that understands, and then NBA for me was a very long season. The NFL is a little bit of a shorter season, so that's different cadence for those people's lives. But I think
Mhm.
really finding someone who understands it, being honest about what your availability will be, and kind of making a plan together of how you will then, pour into your marriage and the rest of your life.
Yeah.
As much as you do your work, and it's hard. I mean, every day you have to check yourself, and I don't get it right every day. And I'm lucky that I have a husband that says, "Hey, it'd be nice if you would, fold your half of the laundry," or "Hey, like I don't have to do all the cooking." And but he also knows that I love what I do, and now getting a chance to actually take this experience and to help like an entire next generation of women build something different. He knows he has not had that opportunity in life, and it takes sacrifice, but he will also keep me in check, which I appreciate, and I can't fault him for.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing so openly. I always say it's nice to hear from successful women how there is hardship and we're not perfect and we're learning as we go. That's the only thing we can do. So I appreciate that. Now back to the high profile clients. I am curious if there is anyone in particular that you met that kind of surprised you in a good way or anything that you'd like to share since I know you have so many stories. Is there anything that stands out or that you comes
I
up?
guess a couple things that people always ask me about are in working with Howard Stern.
Hmm.
Some people say that might be counterintuitive to my mission with women now, but I have to say, Howard Stern was a show, and all the things he talked about were great programmatically. But working with him off, Mike, he one of the most respectful people I've met, and I learned a lot about hard work for him. So
Hmm.
people talk about, his divorce, and it was because the show was so wild. It wasn't. It's because he was a workaholic.
Hmm.
He'd come home from the show and work more. So I learned a lot about like I love working, but seeing that and what it can do, like I feel like I learned a lot from him. But it's a super funny, very quiet, interesting. I grew up, was born and raised in Chicago. So the day I met Michael Jordan, I got to shake his hand, and he said he was welcoming me to the team after a day of interviews. And I was so nervous. He said, "Well, I heard we both have something in common." And I should have said we're both from Chicago, but instead I said we both scored 38,000 points in the NBA. And he goes, no. He's like, no, that was me. Welcome to the team. So someone like that who's so gracious, I could have totally blown a huge opportunity. But he very respectful, and to watch someone the best, very best at what they do in life and how they carry themselves, like they expected greatness all day long. Like there was nothing about being lazy. Laziness was not accepted. How
Yeah.
are you going to get better? How do we improve? So I think I learned a lot of lessons about trying to always be the best version of myself. I
Mm.
was not dunking like Michael Jordan, but why wouldn't I want to come to the office and the arena and be the best version of myself? So I learned a lot there. And then I had the opportunity to work with the Williams sisters in New York when I was at IMG, and
Wow.
then two of the hardest working women who not I mean, they're obviously competing in a women's world, but I feel like they can compete against anyone. And I think that's
Yeah.
true in both business and in sports. And just to think about it, like, I want to be the best, period. Hard stop. I don't want to be the
Mm.
best female. I want to be the best.
Mm.
And if being a female helps drive that path forward for other women, then I'm all about it. I learned a lot about that from them and how anything that you want and greatness comes with some kind of sacrifice. So we talked a little bit earlier about like how you build a life work balance. I'm not even sure I can say that like without laughing, thinking that I have one. It's day to day,
Right.
but if you want to lead with purpose and achieve greatness, sometimes that takes sacrifice. And
Yeah.
that level of sacrifice is different for everyone. And they taught me a lot about that. So again,
Mm.
along the way, like sports teaches you lots of lessons. High five, keep your chin up, cheer for your teammates. I
Mm.
think anyone I've worked with or around, both on the court, field, or in the front office, that's the mentality. So if I'm ever in a meeting where I don't feel like I'm a part of a team, that's where I'm a fish out of water because I believe great teams can achieve anything.
Oh goodness. Oh, that was so good. You're incredible. I am so happy to meet you and to hear all these amazingness from you. And this leads perfectly into my $1 million question here on the show. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it. $1 million question.
Valerie, what is an empowered woman then?
Oh, an empowered woman is who unapologetically is herself in the world. She is her best version of herself, and she does it, and she supports other women. And if she sees their crown is slightly off, she fixes it and never says a word again.
Oh, that is beautiful. And I love the she wants to be the best, full stop. I definitely resonate with that. Thank you so much for being on the show. How can people find you? You shared a little bit about the URL and the website and the app, but how can they connect with you?
Sure. Our agency handles are at Unrivaled Group on all platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, X, and Facebook. And then my handles are at Valerie Tyson on the same channel. So I'd love to connect. And if there's any other women that I can connect, either whether it be into our ecosystems or need some advice or some direction, I'm trying to forge a new path. So I'd love to connect.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you again for your time. This was so cool.
Awesome. Thank you. And good luck with your singing and this podcast. It's amazing what you're doing for women too. So I'm honored to have been a guest.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope this episode empowered you. And if you enjoyed the show, please join the Empowered Woman community on Facebook and share with friends or leave a review on iTunes so more people can discover this empowering message. Until next time, bye.